Hello, Mr. Adam Goldberg. How are you today?
Hello, how's Toronto?
Toronto is great. I was thinking back, I can't even believe that it's been 20 years since The Hebrew Hammer. Hello, my
It's
favorite
been
movie of
20
all
years since
time.
I've been having this conversation all day, and it doesn't seem to matter what's mentioned. It's been 20 years. It's unreal. No matter what the movie is or whatever the project, it's been 20 years.
It's
Everything
amazing.
was 20
Well,
years ago.
look at your longevity. Mazel
Well, you're
tov to
right.
you.
Yeah, that's the upside.
Well, fantastic. Listen, Adam, I don't know about you, but The Exorcist was the movie that ruined horror movies for me for life. Do you remember seeing it?
Well, so my Exorcist story is this. Like I grew up, in the 70s, and so as I recall, that movie was rated X, I think.
That's yeah, I don't know the time. We're around the same age, so I don't know if it was X or just R, but it was bad.
Was it not rated X? Now
I
I'm
don't remember. I
Googling.
don't think so. I think it was just R.
Oh, you're right. It was R. All
Yeah.
right. Well, anyway, oh no, this had recommended by the studio, but giving the film an R rating instead of an X rating to ensure the trouble product. Anyway, point is that the idea of that movie, just the idea of it when I was a kid, scared me so badly. I don't think I saw it till I was maybe 30. It was
Oh,
so,
okay.
and so when I finally saw it, I was like, wow, this is like one of the great feats of, of filmmaking. And, it's just like such a kind of a beautifully done film, and the
Yeah.
acting is so fantastic and it's poetic and whatever. And so that's my experience with The Exorcist. I mean, there are other films that entered my consciousness very early, really via the Z channel in Los Angeles when I was a kid, like Carrie, which really fucked me up. And so
Yes.
I think of that film as the one that kind of ruined me for horror films. I sent a GIF of like Carrie being doused in pig blood the other day to somebody on a text chain. And even that image, it just as a dumb GIF, like scared the shit
Yeah.
out of me.
Yeah. Well, that's how I am with Linda Blair. And every time I see that makeup, I can't. I
Right.
can't
And
get
I
rid of
mean, it's really horrifying. I also had the weird experience of, years ago, uh, Natasha Lyonne and I were together dating, and she did the scary movie. And
Yeah.
so I had this very weird experience of of being with her when she played, a satirized version of Linda Blair, which was also weird because she's playing a child.
Right.
And weirder still because Brando was the guy that was initially cast in that. And I saw the dailies of Brando on top of her uh, while she's playing Linda Blair. And, there's just a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, that goes for a psychiatrist's office, a
Yeah.
therapist's office for sure. But this one, what amazing concept. Okay, first of all, you're working on the script, who is written and directed, or co-written but directed by a guy whose father obviously was in The Exorcist. So he's getting all of these behind the scenes stories and stuff, and then he writes this, and I go, what a great concept. And I wanted to know from you, like when you first got this script, the guy that you're playing, might I say, is quite the dick. I mean, honestly, he really
Yeah.
is. So you had to have had fun even just reading him off the
Oh
page.
yeah, 100%. No, I mean that was a huge appeal. I thought, oh, this is great. I get to play every asshole I've ever encountered. I mean, I don't know why
Yeah,
that's fun exactly, but I guess there's something like it's an exorcism, I think, in a weird way of itself, in and of
yeah,
itself. It's somehow cathartic to reflect back all of the sort of toxicity, which you've absorbed over the 30 plus years of your career.
right.
And it would be disingenuous not to say that I'm sure there are aspects of that character that I possess, and one would be surprised what comes out of them in the sort of weird microcosmic, concentration of working on a film set. Um, can bring out the best and the worst of any person, really in concurrence, I've discovered, at least personally.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, I
um,
can imagine.
so, there's that. But I also just, yeah, I like the idea of it being quite, not just meta in and of itself, but yeah, the idea that here was, Josh having had this experience of being the son of, this sort of iconic actor, but which I didn't know. I had met Josh many years ago and knew of Josh, but I actually didn't know that. I don't, or if I did, I had forgotten
Yeah.
until he told me, I guess. I mean, maybe after I read it or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. I think it's just so great that he channeled it all into this fantastic
Yeah.
script. I mean, honestly. And then, speaking of like going back, this is you're reuniting with Russell Crowe, which, again, you worked with him in A Beautiful Mind. What was it like getting back on set with him 20 years later in this
It was
capacity
great.
and you getting to be such an a-hole to him?
Yeah, well, it was great just to be able to sort of really work with him in the way that I had kind of always wanted to be working with them. I mean, I always looked at sort of Beautiful Mind. I mean, even then at the time, it's funny, the two Ron Howard movies I did, I had to convince Ron that the parts were big enough for me to play, which I'll always take as a compliment, but in a weird kind of backhanded way. So, he was like, this part's too small for you. I was like, I really want to do it, whatever. And so I always felt like I was, I got to sort of observe Russell in that movie, and it was really kind of just, wonderful to watch. And here I get to engage with them and really feel like I was sort of playing, like rallying with them,
Yeah.
and I had maintained some kind of relationship with him over the years. He was the one who reached out to me to ask me to do it. So, I felt very secure, being there, and I felt like I was really there for that purpose. That's why he wanted me to do it. He knows that I've directed. He knows, he just felt like I was, kind of intellectually agile enough to sort of, kind of spar with him,
Mm.
and that was like why I was there. But, it's really easy to act with him because he's really good. And I have
Yeah.
found in my career that it's much easier to act with people who are good. That's
Hmm.
just that simple. I mean, your game is elevated, your senses are heightened, the reality is more real. And it's like if you're thrown on stage and told to improvise, for instance, and you don't have anybody with whom you can improvise, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And that same goes really for scripted works. And Russell is such a malleable actor, and I like to think of myself as someone who's pretty malleable, and so it was just fun.
Yeah, it looked like, I mean, yeah, I mean, it was scary, but it was good. I mean, I just, like I said, I really love the premise of this because I'm not a horror girl. And so when I
And I'm
dive
not a
in,
horror guy either.
yeah,
I don't think I viewed it as a horror film, and then when they
yes,
changed the
I
name to
agree.
Exorcism, I was
Yeah,
like, oh, I guess it's a horror movie. Uh, but yeah, yeah, I always like stuff like, Angel Heart, where it's like, oh, it's a horror movie, but in the last
yeah,
10 minutes of the film.
yeah,
Or, Don't Look Back, the Nicholas Roeg film, where it's like, oh, the little shit, that's a fucking horror movie, but I didn't realize it. Those are my favorites.
absolutely. Just before we wrap it up, I gotta talk about The Equalizer because I love watching you on that, and
Oh,
it's
no.
it's a whole different muscle.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
that is.
season 4 is finale a little intense there, my friend, a little intense. So tell me a little bit about like what, when you get to work on a series and flesh out a character like this and have fun. And then you talk about working with good people, great cast, Queen Latifah. I mean, come on, what a gift.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm really lucky. I mean, it also came right during the pandemic. I mean, we started in 2020, and in fact, they asked me. I got offered it on March, I don't know, 13th or 12th of
Yeah.
2020, and
Yeah.
it was shooting
Oh
in New
yeah,
York.
Marshall. Yeah. Okay.
And
Right.
I was like, no, thanks. I'm not going to New York. And then they, of course, shut down the production. And then in November, it came back around. So anyway, yeah, I think of myself as extremely fortunate, and especially given just the state of the business itself. And so like this is the longest regular job I've ever had. In fact, it really feels like I kind of joke because we moved. I'm living kind of outside of the city in New York. My family's here. My kid has been now in school. We're living in a small town for 3 years. I mean, and so my whole life is kind of here now, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of commute to this job, and then I come back and I like coach baseball. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's
Amazing.
in many ways, it's the most normal in many ways my life has been ever, actually.
Well, it's good to see you being normal. I love everything that you do. I've always been a big fan,
Oh,
and I
that's really nice. I
always
appreciate it.
enjoy talking to you,
Thanks.
Adam. Thank you so much, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you
What
so
a
much. It was really
great
nice
to talk
talking
to
to you.
you today. Thank you.
Thanks.